Hey guys, Jonathan here, and today I've got the ultimate LEGO Star Wars comparison. This is the 2006 versus the 2014 versus the brand new 2024 LEGO Star Wars Star Destroyer comparison. Now, LEGO sent me the new 2024 one to review early, but of course all thoughts are my own in this video, and it is pretty crazy to see how over 20 years this has evolved. Basically, from 2006 to 2024, we almost have 2 decades of evolution, and for how iconic the ship is, it's honestly kind of mind-blowing that these are the only versions we've gotten at play scale. Now, if you're new to LEGO Star Wars, play scale means it's not like 1-to-1 scale. That'd be impossible for minifigs, basically, but the idea being that you can open them up and there are play scenes inside. So that's true for all 3 of these, which is why we're going to be doing the comparison this way. Yes, there was also a First Order Star Destroyer as well as the Imperial Light Cruiser, and while those are incredibly similar, they're not the exact same ship, and since all 3 of these are the same, we're going to compare them here today. Now, that being said, there are a lot of difference between the 3 of these, both in scale, size, and even the prices. So let's start breaking that down now. Jumping back to 2006, this set had 1,367 pieces and came with 9 minifigs, which is insane for that time. It was only $100 when it came out, but adjusted for inflation, it's about $156 in today's money. If you wanted to buy the 2006 today, it would set you back about $250 on the used market. The 2014 version had 1,359 pieces, literally almost exactly the same count as the 2006, but was demonstrably smaller. This set came with 6 minifigs and retailed for $129.99 in 2014, and adjusted for inflation today, that's about $172.50. If you wanted to get this one today, it'd be about $275 on the used market. Now that finally brings us to the 2024 model, which has 1,550 pieces with 7 minifigs. So it's interesting, this technically has the second highest minifigure count, but also has the largest piece count by almost 200 pieces. That said, this one retails for $170 in today's money, so that is kind of crazy to me that even the 2006 one, being nearly 20 years old, and adjusted for inflation, is still the best value at $155 in today's money, and it's considerably larger than the other 2. So, there's all the facts. Now let's take a look at the details of each of these builds. Alright, so we'll start off with the 2006 one. She's dusty, but she'll do, just a fair warning. I do really like a lot of the details on this, and of course, being the largest one, it gives us the most real estate to be able to recapture the Star Wars look and feel in this set. Now, we do have some great details like these guns on the sides, but the guns on the 2014 and the 2024 are definitely a lot more movie accurate in terms of like how many there are and so on and so forth. We do have some green lightsaber hilts here to show like the cannons and guns, and on future versions, those will actually be missile shooters, so that's kind of interesting in its own right. Up top here, I really like that you can actually see inside the bridge. The windows are kind of like translucent, and if we flip the entire model around, you can see that we can push this back, and you could actually fit minifigures up top in the bridge, which, of course, it's not scale accurate to the movie, but just the thought to even try and do that is very cool, and plus the mechanism, how it moves with Technic, is amazing. Now, I did get this set used, so, you know, we might be missing a couple pieces along the way for eagle-eyed viewers, but we do have a giant engine section in the back, which is quite cool. Now, to get to the inside, it's actually a job and a half. You have to lift this entire tab up and then pull out this entire top part to get to the inside. Then once we get there, these wings open and we can see the inside. So let me move the camera so we can take a closer look. Now, the interior of this set definitely has the most real estate to it, but it's definitely the least detailed at the same time. Kind of funny how that works. Like, we've got all these open studs, but not really much going on. Our first play feature is this little button you can push forward here that pushes the escape pod out. You kind of got to rely on gravity, but it is cool to have an escape pod there. So, really interesting, especially how they put those giant stickers on both sides. Really fascinating. Anyways, that's kind of our first play feature. Then we just have a bunch of open white space. On this side, we have Vader's chamber here, his meditation chamber. And then this piece is supposed to come down and be able to, like, lift up his helmet. You know, all these old sets are kind of clunky with their play features, but you gotta appreciate the attempt at the very least. beyond that, not really much going on here. We've got these sliders over in the corner. We've got this little turny thing. I think it's missing a piece. And, of course, the Palpatine hologram projection. So I do think that this thing wins on the fact that it's so giant. But at the same time, there's not really a ton to do with it. It would have been an amazing set to get as a kid back in 2006. And, heck, I still think it's a pretty amazing set all these years later. But I don't know. I think of it being better in my head than it is in actuality. Even though, again, that size is really amazing, and you just gotta love the scope and scale, but yeah, it definitely hasn't aged the best. Now that brings us to the 2014 model. I really think that this one offers the best of all worlds, because the price was right, you got a lot of minifigs with it, it still feels modern enough that, like, this exact model could come out today, and it would fit in with the modern LEGO roster, but at the same time, it still has a little bit of vintage nostalgia charm to it, and by vintage, I mean 10-year-old vintage, but regardless, it's still pretty cool. One thing I love about this that the other two have not captured is the way that the handle hides so well in the middle of the model. As you'll see on the 2024 model, it is hidden more, but I do like that this one's hidden in plain sight, and even the shaping of it is built into the contour of the build. As you can see, we would have had some missile shooters here, but you would have the missile kind of pointing out there, so I prefer to display it without, just to keep it like the monotone color that I remember from the movies. Of course, we've got these guns on the side here that have the same play feature as the 2024 model, that you could move this tab and have the guns move in unison, which is cool. On the back, we have all of these giant engines, which look really great. We can lift this up for more missile storage, just like the 2024 model. And as we come around the front, you can see that there's nothing really we could do with this, top section here. It doesn't open up or hold a minifigure or anything like that. But the entire middle section lifts out just like 2024 and gets us to the interior, which of course opens a little something like this. And this is where the set really starts to win for me compared to 2024. In 2024, man, I'm saying that year a lot in this video. You'll see how the seats work. Here you do have 2 swivel seats and plenty of computers on both sides, a decent amount of area for the walk space, and it just doesn't feel as crammed toward the front as the most current model does. In the back, we also have some schematics on a computer, the Emperor Palpatine hologram, which was really cool to get in this set, 2 computers in the back, which we will also see in 2024, a little weapons rack here, and not really much else. So it doesn't have a ton of detail in the back area, but in the front area, it really shines and comes to life great, and I love the way that this one is aged and looks overall. As you can see, it is pretty big and gray, as you might expect for this ship, for it to be accurate to the movies. But on the back, we've got these big engines here, and I think they look pretty good. They do spin, although that's not like a movie trick. I will try spinning, though. That is a good trick. We can lift up this piece here and see that we've got some extra missile storage in the back, which I think was a creative way to use that space. But unlike previous versions, this doesn't really open up to have any kind of functionality up in the bridge area. It just kind of is what it is up there. I always like these bulb pieces, though. I think that those work really well. But this is just a sticker across the front. In fact, it's our only exterior sticker on the entire ship. But yeah, as you can see, there's not really much else going on the outside as far as like the bigger build goes, but we do have this entire middle section here that does have a couple features built into it. So first and foremost, we can pull this tab and it moves the guns in unison, which is pretty cool. And of course, that action can be repeated on the other side here with the same tab. You'll see that this is kind of moving around as I, do it. This middle section kind of moves around. We'll get to that in just a moment. But then these flaps here can lift up like this, and then you can reach inside and pull out a handle to be able to hover fly it. And I do like how other Star Destroyers have had this a little bit more hidden. This one, I don't know, it really just kind of breaks up the look to me to have to like pull this handle out and have these open, but it's not the end of the world. It's just not my favorite thing. Now, the other thing to talk about are these little tabs right here. You can see we've got 2 green missiles on either side, and when we push that down, of course, you can shoot the missile out there and reload it just like this. And then if you happen to lose it, we've got those missiles in the back we just looked at a moment ago. Then finally, the last real thing to talk about is how the functionality of this section goes. It just kind of sits into this opening that you can see here, so you just kind of lift it up and pull it outward like that. And then you have this big giant monstrosity that you just got to set aside. That reveals the interior. And then the interior just opens up by moving those flaps off to the side. And then that gets us to all the inner details. So let's zoom in and take a look. So we'll start on the bridge area here. Needless to say, it is a little bit on the cramped side, and we just have this very narrow walkway that goes over the computers. There are 2 seats off to the side here where we have one, crew member there, and you could sit another here. And we do have some stickers on these sloped pieces, but it is a little weird that, like, okay, this guy's sitting right in front of a computer, but this guy's sitting in front of, like, a blank wall. I just don't know that the scaling works out perfect. It's not really the end of the world, but I don't know. It just feels like they didn't give enough area here to really build out any kind of like story or anything like that. So that does sort of bother me, to be honest. Especially when we look at something like Moff Gideon's light cruiser that had so much play area on the inside. It tells me it is possible in LEGO, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel as well executed here as it does on the light cruiser, which is similar price, similar scale, and basically the same ship, but a few years in the future for the Star Wars tech timeline. Now that brings us to the back room. Over here, you can see we've got like a little computer on the wall here with the syringe next to it. I guess that could be referencing the syringe from A New Hope, like in the droid they use on Leia. Then we can open up this, and we've got like a little canister in there, I guess like a Bacta canister. But that closes, and we've got a neat little Easter egg mouse droid build there in the corner. Little tricky to see, but he's there for sure. Then in the back, we've got this computer here that's kind of showing like a battle taking place in real time. I don't really love this. I get what they were going for. I just, like I said, don't really love it, but it is decent, and I think it's a cool, inclusion, even if I don't love the execution. We've got a computer sticker there and a matching one on the other side, as well as 2 screens here, one of which kind of shows the TIE fighters in action and any damage that's taken place, as well as damage that's taken place to the very ship that, we just built. So that's kind of interesting too. Well, moving over to this side, we've got some boxes over here that contain, if we open up this one, you could see, oh, it fell out. We've got binoculars in there, and then this box, which actually has the Imperial logo and some Arabesh printed on it, there are thermal detonators inside that one, so that's pretty cool. Make sure not to drop them. Then that brings us to this side, where we've just got a little table with a computer and a coffee cup, and a swivel chair that you could put your minifigs in. Then on the sides, back on the original room, we've just got a sticker here with some like Imperial computer detailing. And then on this side, we've got one that have 2 very famous droids on the screen there. So that's pretty interesting. And really, despite how big the set is, that's all there is to say about it. I mean, it's cool, it's big, it displays great, but at the end of the day, there's not all that much packed into it as far as like play and story goes. So I don't know. The interior is definitely my least favorite of any Playscale Star Destroyer to date. It's not to say it's bad, it's just my least favorite. So let's wrap up the review and give you some final thoughts. Oh yeah, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. This is specific to my set, but check this out. Look at these black dots on this piece compared to the one across from it. Those black dots are physically in the Lego piece. Like, it's a molding issue. There's like black dots in there. It's really crazy. I've never seen anything like that, and just thought I should point it out. It's almost like an air-molded piece with, like, injection colors from a previous piece mixed in or something. Never seen that before. Pretty wild. All right, guys. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this comparison. I think that all 3 of these models bring a lot of uniqueness to the table, and I think that there are valid arguments for each of them to be your quote-unquote favorite model. That being said, with how old the other 2 are and how expensive they are thanks to the passage of time, I do think that the 2024 one is a great way to add this ship to your Star Wars fleet if you don't already have it, but it's tough not to love that 2014 one for getting the scale right, the play features on the inside, but then also the 2006 being as big and menacing as it is, plus the nostalgia points. I really don't know that I could pick a favorite, so I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below, and that's the beautiful thing about a comparison. It's not necessarily about picking a favorite, it's about seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just taking a look at how we've evolved over the years. So, like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.